So there's been some better economic news over the last few weeks, but seemingly not enough to propel South Africa's economy to greater heights. Companies, especially small and medium enterprises, are still closing down. Werksmans Attorneys says there has been an uptick, in fact, in filings for business rescue. The head of business rescue is Levenstein, who joins me now from Cape Town. Dr. Levenstein, thank you for being with us. So we've been talking about more confidence around the GNU, no load shedding, but this seems to be a good reminder that a lot of companies are still struggling out there.
Yes, definitely so. Business rescue remains an active area of restructuring practice. At the end of the day, business rescue is really a tool for realignment of capital resources, whether it be financial resources or human capital. We're seeing some filings more recently, Westpac, AutoZone, Cross Trainer. And when you look at the profile of those companies, you're talking about a lot of stores across a lot of retail sectors, and which obviously impact on jobs, management, and where the business rescue practitioner has his work cut out for him in respect of restructuring these companies that are in financial distress. So we're seeing an uptick in activity in the business rescue space. I think maybe a kickback after load shedding and the knock-on effects of where we've come from, let's say, pre-elections.
So I'm glad you mentioned Westpac Lifestyle and Cross Trainer. Those are companies that people know, and like you say, they employ a lot of people. I think Westpac 1,000, Cross Trainer perhaps more. So to help us understand what you do, I mean, what are the prospects with those two of them being rescued?
So the business rescue practitioner gets appointed and needs to seriously understand whether or not there's a realistic prospect of rescuing these companies. A lot of these companies, I think, are being looked at by third parties, potentially to buy them out. And that's where we're seeing in good investments, let's say, in the distressed space. And where even though a company might file for business rescue, there's always the opportunity of a third-party buyout, whether it's the company itself, its business, or potentially its assets, and maybe even stepping into the shoes of the leases and the footprint across the country. So those companies are mainly in retail. I do see activity in the mining space continuously, and where companies are looking potentially through a rescue process to be bought out and perhaps realigned from a buyout perspective.
The reasons are diverse, so you can't say just one, but I mean, are most companies that are in distress, is it because of the economy? Is it because of their actions? Is there anything you can point to?
I think directors still don't really understand the optionality of restructuring tools like business rescue, or even an informal turnaround process where someone comes in and has a good hard look at whether the company can be turned around. Once directors buy in early enough in a distressed, let's say, process, they'll be able to appoint someone early enough to stop the let's say, financial distress cycle, and in fact realign the company into a rescue cycle rather, and rescue the company. I think really it's about directors understanding the process and understanding the option that is brought about by a business rescue process, and most importantly, getting the business rescue practitioner appointed early enough in the distress cycle.
If we look at the post office, that is a big one that has been in the news. The business rescue practitioners have come in, they've done a lot of work. People have lost jobs, a lot of people have lost jobs. Then they come back and say we need more in terms of bailout funds from government. So it's complicated, right? Is that why business rescue sometimes gets a bad rap? How often is it really successful?
We've seen some really good examples of companies being rescued through the process. The most notable would probably be Edcon, which was bought out by Retailability some year or so ago. Jet Stores, for example, was also bought out by T&G. So we have seen in the mining space in particular buyouts of companies through a rescue process. But I do think if you take the South African Post Office, obviously the business rescue practitioners are requiring capital. It's a substantial amount. It's been reported in the mainstream press. They're looking for 3.8 billion odd from government. That hasn't yet landed. Hopefully it will, and hopefully the post office will be restructured with a much smaller footprint, I must add, than what we initially saw pre-rescue. So it is a difficult process, but at the end of the day, it's far better than liquidation, which is the ultimate shutdown of a company and where all jobs are lost. Business rescue is an option which at least allows the company to have a fresh start and maybe start again, but on a realignment or a restructured basis. So it's there. Directors need to buy into the process, understand it better, and as I said earlier, get your restructuring advisor in far earlier.
For small businesses, do you think things are going to get better or worse in South Africa?
Well, I'm certainly not an economist. I'm an attorney in this space. I do think that we are seeing a positive sentiment after the Government of National Unity was put in place. I do think that, though, there are options for cash flush companies to come along and look at companies that are struggling and potentially make an offer either in the informal space or in the formal rescue space. And a lot of those buyouts happen at distressed, or let's say rather discounted prices, and where you can pick up a really good asset and consolidate markets, whether it's retail, whether it's mining, or whatever it might be. So there is good, let's say, opportunity for those companies that are on the acquisition trail and who understand rescue and understand what opportunities are on offer. So that is a positive outcome, I think, at the moment when we are seeing a large number, let's say, of distressed M&A or distressed buyouts.
All right, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much. The head of business rescue at Werksmans Attorneys, Dr. Eric Levenstein. It was a rough day.